Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. We record these interviews so that potential buyers can learn more about the business and the seller to help them make an informed buying decision. If you would like to learn more about this business, including details like what type of business it is, how much revenue and profit it makes, and all of the assets included with the business, simply visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for this business's listing number, which you can find in the video thumbnail and in the description. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. So without further ado, let's get into this interview. First up, let's learn a little bit about you. Can you tell us about your background in building and running online businesses?
My name is Jules. I'm based in Paris and I started building online businesses in 2022. And this Amazon FBA brand is my first online business. So I identified a strong niche opportunity in Europe. And initially I developed a prototype with a manufacturing partner in Poland. I iterated a bit on the prototype, 23. Later, I transitioned production to a more competitive supplier in China to improve the cost structure and allow for, scalability. So since this was my first experience like selling physical product, I really invested a lot of effort, into understanding the customers, iterating the product, changing and optimizing the images so as to really build a high-performing listing. After the success of the, main ASIN, I decided to expand a little bit the brand on other ASINs and I launched 2 others.
Why are you selling the business now instead of keeping it and growing it further?
The primary reason is focus. Recently, I launched, a separate startup in a different fields that now requires my full attention. So I do think that this FBA business has really strong fundamentals and a growth potential, but I really no longer have the time required to grow it and even to optimize it. So I believe it makes much more sense to transfer to a buyer who can really take care of everything and make the business grow.
Can you describe the amount and the type of work that you do on this business to maintain it?
So the business is currently low touch. So day-to-day operations are, for most of them, handled by my VA, who manages like supplier coordination and all the tasks to be done. I hold a weekly call with them to review the decision and to validate the to-do list of tasks over the next week, in particular in terms of stock, reorders, PPC. I sometimes step in like supplier discussions on WeChat or on WhatsApp when it's needed. The whole work is typically 2 to 3 hours per week. I also handle like periodically some accounting and VAT related declaration or, management, and also handle fund transfer.
So if you were to keep this business, what are some of the ways you would try to grow it?
So there are clear ways to grow the business. The first one is a good inventory and stock management. It's as simple as that, because with a good stock planning, you can avoid stockouts and the business could like basically be better in 2026 than in 2025, just to have like stock in the Amazon warehouses all the time. The second is really about the momentum of the 2 new ASINs. It's really important to understand that there are 2 new ASIN launched really recently on this account, and they have shown quite good profitability over the last couple of months. So they are kind of new and the performance of the businesses over the last 12 months does not really reflect those two agents. So they will probably make the business look real better in 2026. The third point is about like product expansion. There are plenty of opportunities in the niche adjacent products. So those new products could be developed with existing suppliers and it could be done relatively smoothly. Last but not least, this business was operated in Europe. And the good point about this is that competition is quite manageable here. Margins are kind of solid. There's less PPC pressure than in the US. But the US market could be an opportunity just to expand the brand to the US. And the effort required to just expand the business to the US could be quite limited because all the marketing materials are already ready, even in English. So there is basically an opportunity to do that in the US quite easily.
Right. And what would you say are the biggest risks with this business that buyers should be aware of?
Overall, this is a fairly low risk business. Compliance and product liability is not really an issue on this niche. There's not really a compliance issue. The main risk is probably about like good execution. As long as like inventory is properly managed and listing and maintained, I'm pretty sure that the customer experience will remain strong and the good review will continue to come in. But good execution in stock management is a requirement for this business to thrive.
How much support are you willing to offer the buyer who acquires this business?
I'm really committed to making the transition as smooth as possible. Basically, I'm happy to do any handover calls. Basically, yes, introduce the buyer to all the suppliers, explain like basically all the reasoning behind key decisions such as like PPC, listings, images, inventory planning, freight also. The idea is that for the buyer to understand not just how things are done, but also why they are done this way so that she is confident like to take over and continue growing the business.
Are you open to negotiating something like an earn-out agreement?
I'm open to an earn-out payment structure basically. Why that? Because there are those two additional ASINs were launched quite recently and which are already performing quite well. So because of that, I'm really confident that 2026 will be stronger than 2025, which makes an earn-out structure quite a good fit for both sides.
Okay, final question. If you had to put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why is your business a business worth buying?
So the main ASIN is really, really strong and really forms the backbone of the brand. The niche itself, I would say, is really good because it's established. The competition is here, but the margin is quite comfortable. And I would say that the niche itself is mature. So it's not a niche on which you'll see plenty of new sellers tomorrow. The position of the listing within the competition is quite established. So that's why it makes the main ASIN quite strong. We've seen that because after a period of stock shortages, the ASIN has continued to generate like solid sales, high margin, and really a lot of positive reviews. Customers often leave like detailed feedback and I'm always impressed about when I read those. On the top of that, like those newer ASIN and the variation are starting to gain traction and that have not yet reached their full potential. So it's really good point for the buyer because it could basically see the benefit of this growth over the coming months. Also, I would say that the business is already managed by a VA. So the VA could be also helping the buyer or even working for the buyer for a certain period of time, just to ensure like smooth transition and that everything is totally under control for the buyer.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this business is still for sale, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for this business listing number, which you can find in the video thumbnail and description. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll find everything you need to know about this business. So, thanks for joining us. See you next time.